Well, the beard is gone because I guess we got to be about the business. And we got to treat this for what it is. This is a business. And right now, business ain't a booming in the house the Boone built.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State. Got the mic operating properly now. Maybe given some time to potentially digest some of the conversations earlier. Now, I know this is kind of random, impromptu, but I did want to at least kind of, throw this up just in case anybody had any difficulties with any of the auditory stuff. And realistically speaking, sometimes having an involvement, not all that bad. So, basically, it is unfortunately not a great time. So if it's not going to be a great time, and we do find ourselves in this precarious of a situation, it's full on rebuild. And it's kind of crazy to me for us to think that, the days of we can't get better still kind of exist to some degree. Now, again, nobody would be in the situation that we're in if some people didn't want change. But it's like, watching that heavyweight legend type of thing. Just fight one too many fights. And realistically speaking, if N.I.L. and this whole transfer market stuff didn't come to fruition, then we probably don't necessarily have all of these concerns. Because Mike Gundy not being around for a very long time. If he did have everything operating as a well-oiled machine, which it did in fact appear to be so, without NIL and transfer, it may continue to be that way. Right? The CEO top-down approach. It's not to say that it hasn't worked, but guys, even Nick Saban, right? If there's anybody that could, jump up on a big platform and view practice from afar and get away with it on a regular basis, it would be Nick Saban. If somebody decided not to come to practice at any point in time, okay, fine. Maybe Nick Saban can get away with that. But to think that it's always going to be that way everywhere, it wasn't a smart play. It wasn't a great move. What's up, OT? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, I agree. Because, again, we just got to trace back what we have with Gundy, right? In the beginning, Gundy was that young, hungry, ambitious, full of fire, full of passion. I'm a man, I'm 40 Gundy. So a lot of places that are having success, like you could even talk about Jeff Traylor, UTSA, right? He's a fairly young cat. And he just has such a zest and a vigor for the game of football and the development of young men that he's very, very invested. And that's the type of person that you sometimes need, right? You just need that shot in the arm. And luckily, we've got a lot of assistants on the staff that everybody's pretty daggone happy with. So even if this is the extreme move that we know needs to take place, right? Hopefully it's fairly just a simplistic, amicable, divorceable type of situation. Because the statue of the greatest coach in the history of Oklahoma State, all of that shouldn't be tarnished. It shouldn't really change. But if we know this has been an issue for quite some time, then the time has passed. And again, just like we talked about on the show earlier, the idea that it's time to get rid of Dunn and time to get rid of Dickey and Rattay and McIndoe, like that time is past. That time was last year. You can't have a multitude of some of the worst loss in your entire tenure all crammed together, and then you get the same verbiage out of it, right? And the same verbiage always has been, We keep getting out coached. We keep getting outplayed, out hustled, out this, out that. But that's your job. No, nobody necessarily likes micromanagement, but having some loosey-goosey, willy-nilly approach to it's not very advantageous either. And unfortunately, we're seeing this, right? This is happening in front of our eyes. And here's the deal. Again, some of this stuff has been kind of trickled out before, but it was all taken tongue in cheek, in jest, kind of as a joke, like, haha, to find Gundy, you got to go to his farm. Right, ha ha. Nobody really actually thought that the dude was spending more time on his farm than anywhere else. Nobody actually thought that he wasn't in the facility, being directly involved. So when he's saying, yo, hey, for the first time, I actually know people's names, it's not a joke. And again, without the N.I.L transfer market era, probably not that big of a deal. But these are things that caught my Gundy flat-footed. And the well-oiled machine that he thought he'd constructed wasn't designed for it either. Casey Dunn was way in over his head with the offensive coordinator position. And then you factor in he's got to do more of the day-to-day type of stuff alongside Rob Glass. He just wasn't prepared. And then you want him to coach receivers and then drop game plans. It was never going to be a recipe for success, which is precisely why you don't see a lot of people constantly praising, their time here. And you constantly see little pieces of players saying they never had relationships with Gundy. They never had conversations with Gundy. They didn't know a whole lot about Gundy, and Gundy didn't know anything about them, or that some of them even existed. And we always point to the player and say, that guy's not loyal and true. He doesn't bleed orange. He's not realistic. And this is how we've been conditioned. Yeah, the beard's gone. It's business season. Well, realistically, I made a terrible bet. I do that at times. And I bet my brother-in-law that there's no way that Oklahoma State's not going to have a good year. So if we didn't win at least 9-10 games, I'd shave my beard off because he knows that my beard and me are very, very partial, right? I hate the baby face thing. Some people don't mind it. But I've learned now, I'm just going to stop betting my beard. I'm done betting the beard. But anywho, yeah, this is a farewell tour for some people. Who it's going to be, we don't know, right? But we do know, or I think a lot of people can take solace in the idea that if we just stick with the way things are, this team's a shell of itself, right? And I don't buy into this Oklahoma State doesn't have enough talent thing. But if you do subscribe to that idea, imagine what the situation would look like if you lose the top 7, 8, 10, 12, 16 guys. And maybe not even top, but just another 16, 22, 26 man type of exodus is not something that is going to be good. And unfortunately, that's where we are. I know a lot of people don't love it, right? Obviously, I had people talk to me today. Like, I cannot believe the Gundy would be this absent for this long. Okay, I get it. I mean, it's not fun. But again, there's enough people that have seen the breadcrumbs that this stuff has been dropped here and there over the years. But we always just chalk it up to a disgruntled cowboy that's not happy. And certainly there's times that is the case, that it's just simply that. But the fact that we're always so dismissive about maybe there's something to this, right? If you've got 10, 12, 15 players all over the country from different places, from different backgrounds that are all talking about them never having relationships and conversations with Gundy, then it can't just keep being smoke. And this should have never happened. Gundy knew last year that his back was against the wall. And he doubled down. He absolutely doubled down. He bet on himself. He bet on his staff. He bet on his buddies. Yeah, 100%. Right. It is going to get harder to find those guys. And that's how we've done this thing. Take guys that are a little underrated that you know are going to give you maximum effort, and you know that Rob Glass can get more out of them than likely most anybody else, and then let them develop for 2-3 years. Then they're ready to play. Then they're juniors, then you're seniors, rinse, wash, repeat, which is partially why we operate on this idea that once every 3, 4, 5 years, then Oklahoma State can be good enough to play for something. But no, because if you had the same hungry, I'm going to sleep in the facility Gundy that you got in the beginning, then we wouldn't be in this situation. But again, that's not necessarily on Gundy to some degree. You get older, you get complacent, but realistically, let's talk about the fact that contract, it's what partially did this thing in. You cannot give anybody anywhere a contract that pays them more money every year, no matter if you win, lose, suck, failed. That's just preposterous. So if you take somebody that's already taken the standoffish approach that I can run this thing from afar, and then you add all this other stuff, NIL, transfer market, not being able to develop as much in-house guys, needing to now rely a little bit more on the transfer market, not completely buying into NIL, not buying into the transfer stuff, and saying as much to donors at a dinner just months ago. Enough people from enough places have seen enough to know that if we go backwards in this new Big 12, it doesn't matter how nice your facilities are. It doesn't matter how much money you can scramble together. It doesn't matter how somewhat competitive you can be in the NIL race. If you're always playing for the bottom 6, 7, 8, and I know that's what Oklahoma State fans are most deathly afraid of, is we'll go back to 2-10, 2-10, 2-10. But because we're about to go 4 and something crazy with people like Kendall Daniels and Colin Oliver and Ollie Gordon. We've got guys that are surefire, not only this level, but all Big 12, all American type of dudes. We have them. They're not hidden to some degree, but you could argue that they're maybe not getting all of the juice out of the squeeze right now because there is dissension. There is people that are aware that this has just gone on too long. It's just too much. And Gundy's too out of touch about it. He still doesn't want to do this NIL transfer stuff. He still takes pride in recruiting with a small budget, right? And just like we've heard from a Mike Holder. Mike Holder would try to get Gundy to spend more. He would say, Gundy, here's more money for recruiting, buddy. And Gundy would say, I don't need it. I don't need it. I'm not going for those guys anyways. I don't need all that money. We don't need all that money for recruiting. We can spend it elsewhere. And to some degree, if you're going to leverage it for payouts for your assistants, which he has done, and he did do multiple times, that's great. That's good. But if all you do is build a barrier of people that are just going to go with the flow, go with the status quo, go with the times, then you're only getting development individually. Right. And there's some people that do know that if their kids come to O State, they're not necessarily going to be coached by Gundy. And if you do know that, then that's fine. That's okay. That's a different conversation. But if you don't know, if you're coming because of the stability and the continuity of the staff and the fact that Gundy's been here almost 20 years and we had so many years of 9, 10 win, 10 win, 10 win, 9 win, that type of success, it's hard not to fall back on that. And I don't think you can fault the staff or anybody else for doing that. How is NIL a Gundy issue? What? What do you mean? It's not. And wait, he doesn't want to be involved in it. So I don't understand the confusion there. I hope I didn't misspeak, but yeah, he doesn't think players should be getting all this money. He doesn't want to be giving players money. He doesn't want to know anything about it. He doesn't want to be involved with it. He doesn't think it should be happening. He doesn't think it's good for Oklahoma State University. He doesn't think it's good for the Big 12. He doesn't think it's good for college football. And that's fine. You can have those opinions. But if you have those opinions, you still got to find a way to work around what the landscape is. If the landscape gets too far away from you, you got to love and respect the university enough to say, you know what? Maybe this is just not for me. And then you get to be a phenomenal ambassador for Oklahoma State instead of any tarnishment. Okay. But just like I said earlier, I've been fumbling this one around for a while. It takes time. It takes months. It takes months to put stuff like this together and to check enough boxes with enough people from enough areas to make it all make sense. And again, I bought in wholeheartedly to the same thing the players did, which was this summer. He's actually in position meetings. He's actually on the field. He's actually asking people questions about where they went and what their hobbies are, what they got girlfriends, that type thing. Different offense, different defense, more structure, more tenacity, more heavy packages, more fullback, more tight end, more running game. And we got pieces of it all summer, all spring, all fall. So the players 100% were like, okay, this is legit. Maybe the reinvigorated, rebought in Gundy. And if so, hell yeah, huh? Good year. But then the season starts. And then everything changes. So you have 130 some, 135 some odd dudes in the locker room. Of course, you can't make them all happy. But the ones that you know are kind of responsible for whatever level of metric of success you could have on the field right now is, if they're unable to see the benefit, then it's hard for that to be a win-win situation. It's only on Gundy issue if he doesn't wake up this year. I don't believe that at all. We've had plenty of years. This is, again, unfortunately not exactly new news per se. It's just getting unburied on a different surface, I guess. Yeah, dude, this has been an issue. He's had time to fix it. He's been given opportunity to fix it. He's had, conversations with the people that matter to fix it. He made a decision. His decision was, I don't feel like I need to fix or do anything. I'm not going to fire anybody. I'm not going to demote anybody, change anybody, do anything to anybody. The same anybody's that were here for the whole crap fest that happened last season. So yes, this is on Gundy, and it has nothing to do with his utilization or not of the NIL. Doesn't matter. This is why you're seeing this big Pokes with a Purpose push. And we need to get behind it, because Pokes with a Purpose is about the players, the student athletes, and our ability to help with the NIL and recruiting, right? So the Pokes with a Purpose stuff, it needs to continue to flourish, because it should have nothing to do with the donor stuff. It should be able to stand on its own enough, at least, to show Chad Weiberg that you don't have to rely on some heavy-handed donors. The fan base is willing to chip in 80, 90, 100 bucks a pop a piece. I just got a phone with some people that were saying, I would gladly pay an extra $400 a seat for my season tickets if it just means we can guarantee some new Leafs. So, of course, the fans are okay with supporting whatever. Do we have crazy deep pockets? Not an overabundance like a Michigan or a Florida or a Texas A&M. Okay. But being an Oklahoma State fan is different, right? We're the ones that are more invested in wrestling and basketball and baseball than most everybody else. Like our buddies down the road at Walmart U. Sometimes you got to capitalize on the fact that you have some popularity. And it's the lack of capitalization that has had some people like myself, frustrated for a while. Oh, sorry guys, I haven't been popping these up. Yeah, it's a completely new ball game, and we need to make sure that, in my opinion, we don't find ourselves too far outside of reeling this stuff back in. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. It's just he's had time, he's had conversations, he's had the ability to get ahead of this stuff, and he chose to stay out of it. He chose to let the assistants handle it, and that's fine if it works, and it does work to some degree. But any businessman that gives up too much, right, to his underneath people, and they get lackadaisical with the company, and he's not able to see the checks and balances in time to fix it, that's on him. Right? But luckily, we're not in a business that can just get sold, right? We're not like a conglomerate, mom and pop gas station type of thing where the doors can get shut down. That's not going to happen at Oklahoma State. It's not going to happen at Boone Pickens. But how nice things continue to get, how lucrative opportunities are, they lessen over time. Oklahoma State's still a big job. Oklahoma State's still a very popular job. It is easily, hands down, not even close, still top 25, top 30 jobs in America. But if you continue down a path to where it almost seems like, an impossible challenge, then you do go reeling. And then it does take you quite some time to find that one, that Lance Leipold, that can pull you up out of the ashes. Not saying we'll get to Kansas level, but I, again, understand some people's fear of getting there if we lose Gundy, but it's just everybody's in love with the fallacy of what Gundy was. It's not the same. It's not the same Gundy. Player and the former players know it. And other people are aware, enough people are aware of this stuff been going on. So burn it all down. It's idiotic. No, what's idiotic is beating your head against the wall. What is the definition of insanity? Somebody help me out here. We've been doing the same thing over and over and over. And it worked 1 year in 2021 so epically that it was the Band-Aid that covered up all the crap. If we're already in full rebuild and we're already going to lose over half the daggone roster, what are you talking about? It's already burnt down. What I love you, bud. You're a good dude. You're a very intelligent dude. And I know you're a hardcore cowboy, but it's already burnt down. This was what I'm trying to get people to have more awareness and understanding of. This is the landscape. This is where we lie. Find another Yursich. For what, man? For what? To be the head coach that's not really a head coach? To run things when somebody's hanging out at their farm for him? Who else is going to come in and want to do that? No, man, we're past just finding another Yursich. It's unfortunate. It sucks. It's sad. I get it. I'm with you. I hate it. But it's where we are. And again, the hanging on of, well, maybe one more year. Well, maybe. No. Guys, we're going to, well, maybe one more year ourselves out of a position to be in the top 80 in recruiting at all. Again, there's reasons why our recruiting numbers are so bad. It's because Gundy does have a reputation around the circles that matter for the most part. And we as fans just didn't really know, because every time we'd heard little sprinkles of it, we all shut it down as fake news, not great Cowboys, not loyal and true, not orange and black. And that's how we've been conditioned since we were kids, right? If a kid leaves Oklahoma State, it's because he sucked. And it's just preposterous. You can't keep pretending that all these players that played here for years from all over the country, from different backgrounds, are saying the same stuff. Like, get out of here. It's ridiculous to think that all these people just rounded together over all these years to say that Gundy's not around. He's not involved. Like, it's, guys, you go. I mean, you do what you want. You do what you want. You do what you want. This has been months of kicking stuff and figuring stuff and finding stuff and hating stuff, learning new ways to love other stuff, because there's still a gazillion things about Oklahoma State that are phenomenal. And there's a lot of other people that feel the same way that are coaching right now. Some of them former Cowboys. Like, you don't think maybe Josh Henson might come home? You don't think, pretty sure a random dude named Marcus Arroyo doesn't have a lot to do and a contract that gets free pretty soon. Willie Fritz has done crazy stuff at Tulane. Is Tulane a significantly higher of a job than Oklahoma State? Yeah. Again, what has Jeff Traylor done at UTSA? Coach Kenny at Texas State is absolutely killing it, and he's energetic, involved, loves the student athletes, loves the dudes, loves the student atmosphere, the campus. He walks around campus talking to people all the time. Stuff like that matters. So, yes, we could find a very energetic, go-getting coach that gives 1,000 craps, because Mike Gundy was that guy once too, y'all. And there's plenty of great Cowboys that could come and help do it all again. So firing Gundy is worth $25 million. When our fans donate, yeah. Again, OT, why don't we have the donors that strong arm Weiberg put the bill? Doesn't that make some sense? And even if it is, let's just say it is going to be $25 million. It only goes up every year from here. Like, what are we talking about, man? This is crazy. I love that you love Gundy, but you should love Oklahoma State more, so much more that you're done being blinded by the lunacy and the ideas that we can keep hanging on. The hanging on time is done. Yeah, I kicked that around today. Zach Robinson would be phenomenal, but I'm hearing that he's literally about to get an NFL OC job, and he wants to kind of explore that route. But there's plenty of guys like Zach that we could pay $3 million, $2.7 million, and win more than 4 or 5 games. And if you don't see it, then you're being blinded by something other than just fandom. Absolutely. Yeah, it's real money. Again, it keeps going up every year from here on out, whether he wins 1 game, 5 games, 10 games. So what do you want to do, Tom? You just want to keep paying more for nothing of a product and falling backwards in recruiting even more? Like, bro, hoofda, toofda. And again, I don't think Weiberg is a dumb cookie. I think I know Weiberg's very well aware of this stuff. 100%. 100%. So if anybody doesn't think that he's not intelligent enough to know that I got to look ahead at least a little bit just in case. Well, then we need to be talking about Chad Weiberg taking a farewell tour of an exodus. Because you pick what you want, Tom. You keep Gundy, lose all the players. Like, you get rid of Dunn, you don't get rid of the problem. Get rid of Dickey, McIndoe, Rattay, doesn't matter. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with the same problem. And you think that after 6 years of not being around and being completely immersed and involved in the day-to-day operations and game planning, that he can magically all of a sudden, real quick, fast, in a hurry, relearn everything he needs to know to turn it all back around in less than a year? Dude, Tom, no. That was last year. That should have been done last year. That 100%. But it wasn't. And nobody was fired. That was Gundy saying, F everybody. I don't need everybody's opinions. I know what I'm doing. And it didn't work. So he proved to everybody that he doesn't know anymore. He has lost his fastball. And we got so fixated and enamored with the fancy little slider in 2021 that we did what? We pounded down every negative report about Gundy. And we dismissed those people as fake fans or fake players or fake this or not real or not loyal and true. I'm so tired of hearing that one. Like, what makes them not loyal and true? But you, and I'm not necessarily talking about you, but anybody out there who is okay with the situation being the way that it is and okay with not fixing it properly. Like, you're already in full on rebuild. If you're already rebuilding from the ground up, why would you keep the same old slabs of cement and try to super glue it back together? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. We're just so far past that. And it sucks. It shouldn't have got this way. But if we would have done this last year, right? If he would have fired Dunn, Dickey, Rattay, McIndoe, and then we watch a 4 or 5 win season, all of us could have got behind that, right? I mean, nobody would have been happy, but all of us could have been like, you know what? He had to clean house. He had to fix some stuff. We knew it was going to be a feeling out process. Okay. But instead, we're looking at a 4 or 5 win season without any of that. So we got the same stuff for the same money, knowing that there's probably some smoke to some of this stuff coming out, but we're just going to ignore it. And to me, that's my bigger problem. My bigger problem is there is several donors that have known. And I only know this because it's where I'm getting a lot of my updates recently. I never thought that, having donors give me information would be super advantageous. But when it aligns with players and former players and coaches and high school coaches and parents, and then you kind of see the people that do spend the money, that do see what's going on, that are at every single extreme camp every year and have been for 18 years. When you put every dot together, and then all the comments, little underhanded things that Gundy slipped up and said that everybody took as a ha-ha joke, all the signs have been there. People have put it out, but it always gets dismissed as ridiculousness until enough people are finally done with it. And that's where we are. So once again, in closing, I'll leave everybody with this. What does Weiberg do now? Because he knows what the situation is. He knows what the temperature is. And I think he knows where we sit in this teeter-totter of entering the new Big 12. We should be. And nobody can disagree with this. Even OU fans who hate O State would not disagree with the fact that Oklahoma State should have been Absolute welded in insert top 3, top 4 new Big 12 team every year, competing for titles on an every other year basis. Or at least the fact that you're hearing this from other fan bases, it should show us that if other fan bases think that Oklahoma State should realistically be, guys, the only school in the Big 12 that's won more ball games in the last 15 years is OU. And they're gone. And then Texas has, a big chunk of wins over a long portion of time. They're gone. So then it's us, and then TCU, and then Baylor. That's what it's supposed to be. It's what it should be. But it's already not how it is. And we cannot afford to keep sliding further and further backward. And I don't think Gundy could afford or should be willing to afford his legacy being tarnished. Muhammad Ali shouldn't have kept fighting. Neither should Joe Frazier or Buster Douglas. But it happens. And it sucks when it happens. But somebody, somewhere, sometime, has to be able to physically pull Ali out of the daggone ring and say, hey, man, be the greatest of all time, forever. And just be that. All righty. I love you. I appreciate you. Sorry the audio on the earlier show wasn't this squared away. I think in my hooting and hollering, I probably unplugged something. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. But yeah, it is where we are. Tom, I agree. But make it make sense. Make sure it's gonna have a reciprocating effect, i.e., folks with a purpose. Donors, that's a different ball game, different business. They can handle things at a different level. But if everybody gives who can give $83, $93 to folks with a purpose, that can not only send a good enough message, but it can also give us enough financial cushion for the players to give incentives to help. That's all we can do is help. Because we haven't exactly been helping every guy on the team this offseason. So, yeah, I dig it. I like it, Tom. All right, y'all. I appreciate you. God bless. Go Pokes. And until tomorrow, I love you. And I appreciate you. You could be anywhere, but you choose to be here. You crazy individuals. I know most of you probably just, we're watching the show to stare at the beard, and I ruined it. I ruined it for everybody. I'm sorry. Anyways, see y'all tomorrow. Later.